The Teresian Association formally opens its year-long centennial celebration 2010-2011. We remember the time Institucion Teresiana began in Covadonga. Covadonga is situated just to the west and north of Picos de Europa, in the Asturian province of Spain. It was that moment in the history of the Teresian Association when Saint Pedro Poveda's ideal was crystallized before the image of Our Lady of Covadonga, fondly called La Santina. Poveda spent long hours of prayer, and while gazing at her, developed and matured his dream of training educators. This was Poveda's good idea, and thus the Teresian Association was born in 1911. His prophetic intuition led him to think of this association for lay people, well prepared professionally and culturally, open to accept the task of embodying faith from the perspective of education and culture. While in Covadonga, Pedro Poveda followed closely the political and socio-cultural situation of Spain. He understood that nothing would change unless men and women were aware, informed, and educated to become agents of change. The years in Covadonga were key for consolidating his educational thinking. It was in Covadonga that I gave time to studying pedagogy in books and periodicals. Here he began shaping up an educational project, a charism, and a mode of acting within the church. His great respect for science made him want it to be compatible with Christian life. Poveda wrote, "We must show with deeds that science goes well with holiness of life. We shall form men and women of virtue and knowledge, who in turn will form the teachers who will be responsible for the education and enlightenment of the future generation." Poveda came out with the idea of a Catholic association of teaching for the human and Christian formation of teachers. He thus thought of creating academies for this purpose. By academy, Poveda meant a center where those embarking on a teaching career would receive instruction and where aspiring teachers would be trained by those experienced in new methodologies. He set up a center in Gijón involving a group of male primary teachers. At the same time, he also set up an academy for female teachers in the normal school of Oviedo. The male counterpart in Gijón was not successful. However, the Academy of Oviedo for female teachers flourished and was officially inaugurated in December 1911. Poveda believed that the influence of qualified women was beginning to emerge. The academias were named Obra de las Academias de Santa Teresa de Jesús, or Obra Teresiana. These educational centers grew and expanded to all major cities in Spain. The secret behind the effectiveness and the richness of this idea was Poveda's basic philosophy of choosing a small group of committed lay women willing to carry out the good idea, and who eventually became the first members of the Teresian Association. Josefa Segovia, a Teresian member with such fidelity and embodiment of spirit, was a key figure in setting up and developing the work or Obra Teresiana of Pedro Poveda. Josefa Segovia was the first Directress General of the Teresian Association. On the 11th of January 1924, Pope Pius XI recognized and approved the work in perpetuity, recognizing it as the pious union of Institucion Teresiana. Inspired by the teaching and life of Saint Teresa of Jesus, Pedro Poveda named the association Teresian Association with specific characteristic for the members. a life that is fully human and totally God-centered, like that of its patron saint, Saint Teresa of Avila. From the humble beginnings of the Academias in Oviedo in 1911, and after having officially received the pontifical approval in 1924, the Teresian Association was entitled to propagate its mission in other countries. The TA therefore ventured to a country outside of Spain and set foot on Chile in 1928. It later expanded to other Latin American and European countries, establishing most importantly in Rome in 1934. The Teresian Association also thought of expanding in Asia. Pedro Poveda never lived to see this happen. Josefa Segovia, on the other hand, as president during her time, pursued the plan and prepared for China, which never materialized. In 1950, the TA reached Asia, establishing its presence in the Philippines. The Teresian Association is currently present in 30 countries all over the world. Today, we commemorate those 100 years of Poveda's original and good idea, La Obra Teresiana, where it all began in Covadonga. 1911-2011, from memory to commitment, we remember, we celebrate.